So some apologies to the older subs. They may be aware of this material, but nevertheless, there's a certain aspect I want to highlight. So we're going to be talking about Aaron Smith-Levin, very popular YouTuber, focused on allegedly anti-Scientology. But Aaron, to put it mildly, has gotten involved in lots and lots of scandals. Now we're going through his most current scandal, which involves Juliana, a woman he had relations with in LA while he was covering the Danny Masterson trial. But apparently he was really focused on taking drugs and doing other things. But that's me, in my opinion. But even before that, there was a very public scandal he got enmeshed in. And to be fair, Aaron did address it, but the way he did it was, to put it mildly, incredibly deceptive. So in 2021, he was running for public office in Florida, and for whatever reason decided to go to a cigar bar and try to get some signatures, or that's what he claims. And then he met a former Scientologist that he had a crush on and that he had been trying to, I guess, have sex with, and pressed her, and she rejected him. And then that's when things started to spiral out of control. Ultimately, it led to a fight, and Aaron, to put it mildly, when he had to explain what exactly happened, was not telling the whole truth.
Called her a cunt, and he hit you to defend her honor. These f***ing cops would not let me press charges. So I eventually let the police convince me not to file a report or not to press charges or whatever would have happened if I had persisted. These facts were not really facts after all. Oh yeah, I punched this guy because he called my girlfriend a
Well, the essence of what happened is he went to the bar, and again, according to Aaron, let's be fair, that he wasn't directly insulting this woman. And again, I think I know her identity, but let's be discreet. We'll call her Sky. The claim is he wasn't directly insulting Sky, but he was yelling in a loud voice and calling her some foul names. He was asked several times to stop by Sky's boyfriend at the time. He didn't, and then it escalated into a physical fight. And Aaron's explanation is very bizarre because he's saying that, one, the police would not take his report, and then two, the police convinced him not to take the report. Is he really that ignorant of the law? This is a guy with some resources at this point. So he has enough money for a lawyer. Presumably he could talk to his lawyer, and he should know that, well, that doesn't matter. Even if the police don't take your report, you can have a civil suit. So if he feels he was wronged or his reputation suffered due to this incident, he could have sued her to clarify. He could have done a Johnny Depp, right? If she's really Amber Heard, she's the guilty party, he could have done that. He could have had a lawsuit to basically explain everything. That didn't happen. Now let's focus on the more current case with Juliana. And again, I noted in another video that she did try to tell her story, but then she kind of backed off. So what is her story? Well, and again, I'm going to not go into too much of what Nora and Rabbit are doing, because I think they're not very trustworthy. So I'm just focusing on Juliana's information. What happened is after the incident with Aaron, where, and again, she did verify part of her story because she showed her her head, which was very injured. They met up at a hotel room. Apparently there was a breakup and it went badly. And Aaron tells it, again, like Johnny Depp, that he was trying to get away from her. Again, remember, Aaron is incredibly big and tall. She's much, much shorter and weighs much less than he does. And that he was trying to get away from her. He was bleeding. He was injured. It was a very stressful situation. And a recent tape has surfaced that really contradicts his story. But in terms of what Juliana did afterwards, this is where it gets a little strange. So she tried to reach out to the Headleys and Mike Rinder and others on the Aftermath Foundation. And she claims she wasn't trying to pursue a criminal case, but she did think that Aaron should be taken off the board. And that's created a lot of controversy, even people who side with her, that, well, what exactly was the plan here? And here's Nora sharing private information because she emailed Nora trying to get help. And of course, Nora backstabbed her and released this private information, from which I understand Juliana did not authorize. Well, this is fairly devastating, though I don't see how Nora thinks this does damage to her credibility. I mean, granted, her plan here is a little bizarre. So she's hoping to contact the Headleys, Rinder, and Nora, and once they're alerted to what Aaron did, they would act properly and try to push him off the board, which eventually they did in November of 2023. Now, the problem is they didn't do it honestly. They didn't quite say why they did it. They alluded to reasons, including the bar fight. But they didn't quite sketch out why exactly does he need to be taken off the board. But now we kind of know that he's had all these scandals and they keep mounting, and that's going to be a liability problem both for the foundation and also some lawsuits that Rinder is involved in. And one of the lawsuits is, you guessed it, with the Church of Scientology. So it's a very tricky situation that legally maybe there's nothing here, but again, from the PR perspective, this could be really damaging, right? They're charging the Church of Scientology with protecting abusers, especially of women and children. If they're protecting someone who's abusing, well, women, that's going to look really, really bad in the media. And they want to try to do maximum damage to the church. So Aaron's activities do damage to various lawsuits. Now, granted, I don't think this was a good idea. I think it would have been better if Juliana did charge him with a criminal and civil case, and let's just bring it out all into the open. So it's a little unclear what her plan was, but so what? It was a very stressful situation. I mean, definitely there's a failure of judgment if she thought Nora was going to help her, because Nora was not going to do that. She's a full-on propagandist, and she's literally mocking her and calling her like an OSA agent, and this is all an OSA operation, which now looks pretty laughable. There's simply no evidence this is an OSA operation. It is what it is. Aaron keeps getting caught in these scandals. When he gets caught, he just does a lot of weird brainwashing techniques to try to fool people, or engages in all this crazy activity like unleashing squirrels and screaming at the top of his lungs and stalking women in Florida and all this other stuff on camera. It's all clearly distraction tactics. He just can't deal with the central charge because the central charges appear to be true. It appears like he is a very abusive person, and he's been like this even in Scientology. This is just a very normal pattern of behavior for him to basically victimize people, men and women, and when he gets caught, he tries to blame other people. So it's a very tragic, sick, disgusting situation. But Aaron's clever trick that's saying, well, if I'm guilty, why is Juliana not pressing a lawsuit? Well, yeah, you're constantly attacking, harassing, and literally just sending, to put it mildly, your fans after people if they don't fall in line. And some of these people now are being very violent, like DOA. Someone living in the LA area doesn't want to take that risk. So Aaron just breathlessly saying, if I'm guilty, why no lawsuit? Same thing with you. If you're innocent, why don't you have a lawsuit against Sky? Why don't you have a lawsuit against Juliana? If they're lying, he hasn't done that. He's threatened lawsuits, but he hasn't done anything. It's a lot of question marks on both sides, but I think overall the evidence does favor what Juliana and Sky are saying, that this is a very abusive person and he just keeps acting like this. And when gets caught, he blames other people, unfortunately.